minus 9 minutes. Minus 8 minutes. Minus 7 minutes. Minus 6 minutes. Minus 5 minutes. T-minus 2 minutes. T-minus 1 minute. Stand by.
How about that?
Start spreading the news. It's Football Friday, and we have our great friends with us today. A very special guest in hour one. The Moose is on fire. Darren Moose Dupont joining us from the center of the world, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, as we stream on Game Plus, YouTube Live, podcast WQVZ, and of course in hour two when we go to air across Nevada, John Murphy's going to be with us. And trust me, it's a Football Friday. That means a lot of football and ball for all. But Moose and I talked on the phone this morning. I feel like, Moose, we're talking like almost every second day now, which is a really good thing because we're on the same page. And but there's things that are not just football-wise that you want to talk to, which everybody's talking about, so that's all cool. Are you ready for the weekend?
I'm ready. I thought you were wearing that shirt for me because the jaw part was covered by the microphone. I thought it was just a Moose shirt, not a Moose Jaw shirt.
This is our Moose. Boom. That's what, no, start spreading the news. Our Moose Jaw Miller Express are number one in the entire WCBL, baby. I feel like it's the latest we've been in first place in my time, heading into the All-Star weekend next weekend, by the way, in Saskatoon. Your town, but we're having our way with everybody. And I'm just so damn proud of them. Okay, let's go. It's the warm-up brought to you by our friends at Uniglobe Carefree Travel. Join CFL legends Adam Bighill, Jameer Thurman, Willie Jefferson, and Jake Ceresna on a 7-day cruise departing from Fort Lauderdale February 20th. A once-in-a-lifetime experience for CFL fans. Prices from $18.99, cruise only. Contact Neil Charkey, Uniglobe's Carefree Travel. The details will be on the screen later. Moose, just so everybody knows, you want to talk about the CFL, which we'll talk about the Thursday night lid lifter last night. You want to talk about Tom Dundon, the owner of the Carolina Hurricanes, putting all of his family's name on the Stanley. Oh, if your last name is Dundon, we're putting you on the Stanley Cup. You want to talk about that? Some NHL things. I want to talk about Craven. I want to talk about the NFL. What's the number one story? You don't need to answer that right now. I'll ask the viewers. We have a lot of the U.S. viewers. What's the number one story going into the NFL season? We'll get into all of that. But last night, Justin Rankin and the Edmonton Elkamos were back to their newfound winning ways. The Edmonton running back scored 3 big play touchdowns as the Elks came away with a 40-17 victory over the struggling Ottawa Redblacks on Thursday Night Football. We all watched it. Ottawa briefly made it a game, and then Moose, they just collapsed in the fourth quarter. And away we go. The Elks on top at 4-1. What do you think?
Yeah, Edmonton's for real. I mean, Justin Rankin, the kid is unbelievable. And then Javon Leake for, when he had the touchdown, 68 yards, I think it was, got called back because of a penalty. And you can just see things changing in Edmonton right before your eyes, can't you? Like the
Yeah.
culture has changed. The whole feeling around that organization has changed. You've got Leak running for the touchdown late, and then there's Rankin running off the sidelines to give him to celebrate with him in the end zone. Like that team is coming together, which is very scary for the rest of the CFL, man. The score does not really tell you the story of the game because a lot of that was in garbage time. You're right. Ottawa had this a 1-score game with just a few minutes left. And obviously when it becomes a 2-score game that late or a 3-score game, you kind of are done. But things are not good in Ottawa, and they need to clean up the turnovers. That's a big problem right now. And they got more questions than answers. But for Edmonton, man, they are a fun team to watch.
I'm writing down your meme. Moose always has the hot takes, and it's nice to have you on. Something a little like Scruffy's a hot take machine. Most of the guys are, but Moose just said, the Elks are coming together, and that's scary for the rest of the CFL. And it's interesting because we're all sitting there from the outside looking at it. We follow the CFL close enough to know this is no overnight success. This is literally a decade in the making, right? And who is getting credit here? Mark Killam, Ed Hervey, Chris Morris, Cody Fajardo. Like, I don't know how long Justin Rankin's been around, but Mike Davis, who comes on this show almost every Friday from the Vegas Nighthawks, he sent Justin Rankin to Edmonton from his indoor football league team, the Vegas Nighthawks. I think that was a Jones holdover. I may be wrong, but Edmonton was where Ottawa is now, and I got to be honest, Darren, you got to wonder if Ottawa's going to win a game based on what we saw last night. They are BAD.
Yeah. And I think, it might have been Marshall that said it on the broadcast last night. It's getting late real early in the CFL season for Ottawa. Like it is becoming a situation here where if you don't start winning some games, like forget about the playoffs and getting this thing figured out. And I think we all trust that Ryan Dinwiddie is going to be able to figure it out and get this Ottawa team back to relevance and a competitive team. I don't think there's a question there. It's a matter of how long, but right now, the way they're playing, I don't know who they're going to beat. And that's unfortunate. I think they'll get there eventually, but I don't know if it's going to be this season.
Can I just tickle your fancy with some viewer comments here? Brent writes in from the Bridge City. He says, good morning, Rod. On the go today. I'll try to listen to you on the go in the car on my phone. Should be fun. Welcome, Brent. We're happy to have you. John in Edmonton says, Rod, what's wrong with the Ottawa Redblacks? Stop asking me those questions, John. It's not my job to figure it out. That's their problem, not mine. Rich in Edmonton says, Cody Fajardo with another dub. Death taxes and Fajardo winning. I love how much that pisses people off, me saying that more than anything. Some guy, of course, wrote in and goes, I'm glad I didn't rely on Fajardo to do my taxes last week. Just shut up, man. It's a phrase. I love how much it pisses everybody off. That's like the Canada's team thing, which was also marketing. Ken in Mississauga writes that he says, Moose Jaw, the city that doesn't sleep. You ever been here? It's the city that pretty much always sleeps, and that's why I love it so much. Vancouver Eric writes in, he says, not enough quality quarterbacks in this league. Forget about expansion. Hold on to that thought, okay? Jeff, the Stamps fan, says, hit him again, ye men of Calgary. Go Stamps. Pipe down, Jeff. It's not game day yet. Bill from Whitby, Ontario. Good morning, Argo fans. What a great sunny morning. It's game day tonight for Toronto, so just hold on to don't get your panties in a bunch. We'll get to that game tonight. Yeah, so anyways, that's what went on last night. So again, what do you think Ottawa's record will be at the end, man? Like they're as bad as bad can be.
They are, but there's good people around that organization. There's good people in that locker room. We know that. We know the people. They're going to win some football games, but it's tough. I mean, it all starts and ends, I think, at the quarterback, right? And Jake Mayer can play, but it's just been a tough start to the season. So I don't know what they do at that spot. If he continues, if they hand the reins off. The way it looks right now, it's hard to envision that team being more than a 4 or 5 win team. It is. That's unfortunate, but
yeah, I'm with you. But who's the receiver? I want to say Abdul Kader. It's not that. No, not Justin. There's a young guy, like Evangelista or Eberflus or something, whatever. He's a stud. So the pieces are there. The main thing, Ryan Dinwiddie's proven before. That's the thing. Now, Chris Jones was proven, which we can get into a lot of stuff. We'll be right back on the RP Show.
Across America, Country Thunder Music Festivals bring you the biggest superstars. See unforgettable performances by Zach Top, Lainey Wilson, Brooks and Dunn, Keith Urban, Riley Green, the Red Clay Strays, Kane Brown, Gavin Adcock, and so many more. Join the party under the desert sky in Arizona, on the sandy shores of the Gulf in Florida, or in gorgeous Wisconsin Lake Country. It's the music you love, live and loud. Tickets, hotel, and camping info available at countrythunder.com.
Looking for a new ride without the big city pressure? Come to Western Dodge in Moose Jaw, where you'll find an unbeatable lineup of Ram trucks, Jeep SUVs, Dodge Muscle, and Chrysler family rides. With knowledgeable staff, great prices, and that friendly Moose Jaw touch, you'll drive away with confidence. Western Dodge, big selection, small town service. Visit us today or browse online at westerndodge.ca.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too.
Al-Anon and
Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
Across America, Country Thunder Music Festivals bring you the biggest superstars. See unforgettable performances by Zach Top, Lainey Wilson, Brooks and Dunn, Keith Urban, Riley Green, the Red Clay Strays, Kane Brown, Gavin Adcock, and so many more. Join the party under the desert sky in Arizona, on the sandy shores of the Gulf in Florida, or in gorgeous Wisconsin Lake Country. It's the music you love, live and loud. Tickets, hotel, and camping info available at countrythunder.com.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Ultimate Fan Zone, taking our show on the road coast to coast. Shop online, ultimatefanzone.ca. Slick, user-friendly. We built this site for the die-hard sports fans. Jerseys, hats, team apparel, offering officially licensed fan gear from the best lines in sports. Nike, New Era, Adidas, Fanatics. Game day ready to your door. Now, just a click away. ultimatefanzone.ca or check us out on Facebook and Instagram. UFZ Downtown Moose Jaw, home of everything authentic.
You have a vision, a big idea, but how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection, booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events. That's the EMJ difference. We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
Text lines hopping, everything is. It's brought to you by Western Dodge, 902-518-3033. Drive with confidence, shop Western Dodge. Financing, selection, and service you can count on. I told Moose on the phone this morning, I said, Fridays, they're punchy. Everybody's excited. It's just a fun, like when the teacher forgets their lesson. Let's just have a show and tell day or tell stories. That's kind of what these football Fridays have become. David, number 2 in Winnipeg, says, Football Friday and Moose riding shotgun. It doesn't get better. Let's go Blue and Drew. Wayne in Victoria says, Eberhard is the receiver you're thinking of, Rod. He played for the Lions last year. Whatever. He's amazing. And one last thing on that before we move forward. Maybe the impatience in Ottawa, which their fans are impatient. All fans of losing teams are impatient. Maybe they should get better results, Darren, because if this Eberhard, and I apologize, I didn't know he's in BC last year, you should be able to rebuild pretty fast now with the one-year contract. So maybe they should be better than they are.
Yeah, I mean, you should, but at the same time, you bring in new people, new coach, new all these different things. Like, it's tough, and they're struggling, and they're really struggling, unfortunately, to say it, at the quarterback spot. And in football, more than any other sport, well, in football for sure, like coach and quarterback is so important. Like you can look at coach and superstar or captain in hockey and other sport, but like coach and quarterback need to be in a rhythm, in sync. I mean, Drew Brown's already gone. Jake Mayer struggled. The interceptions, the turnovers are not helping. So there is some friction there at the quarterback and coach spot. And once that gets cleaned up, then they can move forward.
It's funny you say that because AJ from North Battleford says, if Drew Brown wins tonight, does the seat get hot for Dinwiddie? Maybe, but we don't really know what went on behind the scenes. Darren's already saying no. And you said something key earlier. You said it's good people in charge there. And just so you know, you're probably more right than you even know. Dinwiddie is a great guy. Brendan Taman has a lot to do with personnel there. Chad Hudson, who I just ran into the other day, married my cousin Jasmine. They've got great people in their front office in Ottawa, so they will turn it around. Did you have a thought on that before I move on to a few other things?
No, they will turn it around. And if Drew Brown, again, wasn't Dinwiddie's guy, or, there's issues in the locker room or whatever, I trust Ryan Dinwiddie making the right moves. It's not always about, and it's always situation. Like Drew Brown was the next thing in Winnipeg. It hasn't really worked out necessarily in Ottawa for him. He could go back to Winnipeg and be the guy, and it doesn't automatically mean that Ottawa made a mistake. It doesn't, right? Situation matters. Fit matters, and it wasn't a fit in Ottawa.
Exactly. And then there's way more that goes on behind the scenes than we know. Murph kind of alluded to that yesterday on the show, which is why we have the guys on like that. So anyways, we'll come back on the football and tonight's Bombers-Argos game and all the rest. But there are, like I said, Moose wanted to talk about a few other things. The big news from the hockey world from yesterday, Anaheim Ducks matching the Philadelphia Flyers offer sheet for center Leo Carlsson, keeping their rising young star at an extraordinary cost. The Ducks announced their decision on the 21-year-old, who is now the NHL's highest-paid player, under a 5-year, $90 million deal. Hang on. That rolls into point 3 in a way. Carolina Hurricanes owner Tom Dundon's decision to include his family on the Stanley Cup has become a lightning rod for controversy online. Dundon, his wife Verushka, I haven't seen her, but she just sounds hot. And children Caden, Dax, Drew, Blake, and Tegan are the first names engraved on the historic trophy side to immortalize Carolina's 25-26 Stanley Cup championship. The Dundon names appear before any players or staff, including team captain and Conn Smythe winner Jordan Stahl, general manager Eric Tulsky, and head coach Rod Brindamore. So the poll question today for Country Thunder, which we're into day 2, and I'm going to be out there later on today, is: should owners' families' names go on the cup? I got thoughts, but you're the guest. So how are you? You wanted to talk about it, so what do you got up your sleeve?
Well, of course, the answer is no, they shouldn't be on the Stanley Cup. I don't know that I've seen anybody defending this. It's wild and crazy. And like, we're talking about the history of the Stanley Cup. Look at this. It's so important. I got a photo right here of me and Phil Gross at the Stanley Cup right on my wall, because the Stanley Cup means that much, to everybody that's touched the game. You have to earn the right to hold that trophy, to have your name on it. Not even all the players get their name on it if you didn't play games. Even if you helped during the season, there's so much criteria. Then you throw your kids' names on it. Look, Carolina, I think Tom Dundon's been really good to the NHL. It's a great market. It's a growing market. Forget about owners being first before players. I have no problem with that. I mean, it's their team. They can be on there first. That doesn't really matter. But the kids being on it, this is what I was thinking about. I'm like, those poor kids. They didn't want this. Like, I don't know if they wanted this controversy. They didn't say, I want my name on the Stanley Cup. I can't imagine. It reminds me of being in the restaurant, and I'm a picky eater, and I get onions on my cheeseburger, and I'm just going to scrape them off, because I don't want to make a fuss. I don't want it to be an issue, but mom's got to speak up and say, he didn't ask for onions. He asked for no onions. Can you take this back, please? And now I'm embarrassed.
Yeah, Mom, right? I'm good. Yeah, and
that's how I feel the kids. Yeah. That's how I feel the kids are today with this controversy.
Maybe. Who knows? Every family's different. But good morning, Kevin the Medium. Good morning, all the people that are settling in. Make yourselves at home. John says, if I was an owner, can I put my dog's name on the Stanley Cup or the Grey Cup? So well, hang on. So Darren, again, this is why we work so well. And like I say, Kevin the Medium has just checked in. Listen, I can sit here for 2 hours every day just fine, but I'd rather get my friends on and their opinions. And Darren brought something up really well earlier, like, and I'll remind you of it if you forgot. But I'm just trying to read some of the comments here. Somebody said, is this, Carlos in Indiana says, is there a precedent for doing that sort of thing on the Stanley Cup? Apparently, according to Jason Greger in Edmonton, our dear friend, Peter Pocklington put his dad's name on the cup in the 80s, and the NHL put X's over it. The NHL blocked it. And so there's a lot of, Jeff the Stamps fan had a really good point here, too. It's hilarious. The comments are coming in like crazy moves. He basically said he would hate to see, he goes, the last thing I ever want to see, as an example, is Daryl Cates' spoiled kid earn nothing's son with his name on the Stanley Cup. Remember when Cates brought his kid up on stage at the draft? But anyways, what you said on the phone this morning was so good. You said the NHL's changed in terms of the franchise values and the money guys that are the owners. This ain't the 80s anymore. So, do you remember what you said about that? Can you repeat it?
Well, I just saw with the Leo Carlson thing. I've been reading a lot about it. That, the ownership group years ago had purchased that team for $70 million. I didn't fact check that, so I'm taking it, for what it's worth on the article that I was reading. But $70 million. And at that price, I mean, that's not franchises being worth much. Like $1 million isn't a lot of money anymore. Compared to what it used to be, especially in that world. And 70 million sure isn't for a sports team. So
Leo Carlson's making 90.
Yeah, that was the point of the quote. Yeah. So I'm sure commissioners ran the league. But now when franchise values are pushing billions of dollars, and some are over $1 billion or more, multiple billions, sure, the owners run the league. When you got that much invested, you say, no. We need what we need. You work for us now. We have the money invested.
That's
70 million.
Difference.
You can get pushed around. Yeah.
Yes, John Ziegler was the president back in the day, and he would have vetoed that Pocklington thing. But now Bettman, literally, the owners are in charge, not the commissioner. It's flipped. Basically what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
So they can put on whatever the hell they want. And this is actually hilarious. Kevin, the Medium, says, who cares? It makes no difference in my life. No. That's how screwed up sports is, Kevin, and you know that. It's not like life. Everybody's worked up about this. So, no, I get where you're coming from. No, yeah, go ahead.
You say the details matter, right? That's one of the, just in my head, ingrained. The details matter. And especially in some of the work that you do. But, it doesn't matter. And I'm the king of, hey, it doesn't affect me. I don't let it bother me. But those little things are what tarnish the tradition. And all of a sudden, the Stanley Cup's not going to mean that much if anybody can just have their name on it. And then it doesn't matter. And then it's a trickle-down effect.
Darren in Melford says, I can see maybe your spouse just because they make a sacrifice too for the Stanley Cup. I mean, more than anything, and people don't understand this, but the rule is the golden rule. He now or she who owns the gold makes the rules. So if you win the Stanley Cup, you can do whatever the hell you want. We've been living with this with Jerry Jones in Dallas for decades. That's just what the fans don't understand. And Gary Bettman clearly does, because he didn't block this. I have a very tough time believing that they were ding, 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 chiseling in all the names of the kids. And, oh, wait, we forgot to ask Gary. Gary would have known. Gary would have had to have said, it's okay, man. We need owners like Tom Dundon in the league that will never run out of money. He had to have okayed this, right?
I don't know. Yeah. You would think, like, that's the thing, and that's funny in all this is who owns the cup? Where does it go? The Hall of Fame gets it back and got a picture of the engravings. Like, who gets to make the decisions? That's tough. I mean, it's not good. It's not good, but I don't know. I wonder if they're going to get X'd out of there. I'm not sure that they will.
And you talk about the kids, just so you know, and maybe this will make everybody feel better. because they think these billionaires' families are so great because they're all coiffed and their wives are hot and their name's Verushka and they have a yacht and all the rest. I can tell you, and Kevin can probably corroborate this, after having worked with those people in the recovery world, they are the most screwed up families in the world of all. Not all of them, but pretty much everyone I've seen, i.e. they got to try. The dads have to travel with security. The kids have never worked a day in their life. They can't understand. They don't know if their friends are their actual friends or are they just with them because of their money and who they are. Like, they just, it's bad. So don't think that their life is tremendous, is my point, just because their name's on the Stanley Cup, which is another thing for Kevin. Like he says, you know, how big a deal it didn't affect your life. There was a massive thing with us in 2007 when we won the Grey Cup about whose name was going to get on the Grey Cup or wasn't, because Matt Dominguez wasn't on the 46-man roster. Do you know that story? The 46-man roster the day of the Grey Cup Sunday, even though he'd played all year. And he didn't get, and he petitioned the league. And I want to say, remember Ray Williams? Our middle linebacker, he did too, because their names they didn't play in the game, in that specific game. So while it sounds nice to say it doesn't affect me, no, this is a major, major, major thing in sports. So anyways, hey, and the time we have left, producer Corey, please let me know. We only got a couple minutes. Zach in Calgary writes in and wants to know our thoughts on the Sports Talk Radio Fan 960 going off the air. Thank you. 2 minutes. Fan 9, I've been addressing it all week. It's in my column today at rodpedersen.com. But Moose, for the benefit of those that haven't seen you all week, what are your thoughts on Fan 960 going off the air? And in Vancouver, Sportsnet 650.
It's sad. It's really sad in those markets. It sucks. It really sucks. Every time, you know, whether it's a piece of history, a piece of your childhood or your routines, and just those markets, it does suck. And it sucks for the teams in those communities that are losing a piece of coverage. But they're not losing out on a lot on the coverage at the same time. I say you're losing coverage, but you're not, because it's moved to other places. It's moved to social media. It's moved to, you know, streaming and YouTube and other places. But it's a little bit of losing the trusted voice, because one of the areas of social is you don't know who to trust, right? You don't know who to trust. You don't know who's there, who's going to have accreditation to be in those rooms, to ask the questions. You know, that's gone. And so it is really, really sad, but it's also business. So I get it.
But people also don't understand. Like John in Edmonton says, no more radio broadcast for the Flames or Hitman. No, you guys they will be on the radio. That's what you don't understand. Okay. So don't jump to conclusions. And I was saying this to Darren, like Kevin the Medium said, his son Jake, who's a little younger than you, is taking this harder, like really hard. They don't know life without sports talk radio. We grew up, we didn't have it. So you know what it does? It makes shows like this that much more special, because this more society eventually is too much. And the pendulum's swinging back. And it's actually great for shows and people like us. You're all here today. Anyways, we'll be right back. This is great. We'll get back onto the football with Moose. And the number one story in the NFL going into the year, I want your take on that. We'll be right back on the RP Show.
Ultimate Fan Zone, taking our show on the road coast to coast. Shop online, ultimatefanzone.ca. Slick, user-friendly. We built this site for the die-hard sports fans. Jerseys, hats, team apparel, offering officially licensed fan gear from the best lines in sports. Nike, New Era, Adidas, Fanatics. Game day ready to your door. Now, just a click away. ultimatefanzone.ca, or check us out on Facebook and Instagram. UFZ Downtown Moose Jaw, home of everything authentic.
Across America, Country Thunder Music Festivals bring you the biggest superstars. See unforgettable performances by Zach Top, Lainey Wilson, Brooks and Dunn, Keith Urban, Riley Green, the Red Clay Strays, Kane Brown, Gavin Adcock, and so many more. Join the party under the desert sky in Arizona, on the sandy shores of the Gulf in Florida, or in gorgeous Wisconsin Lake Country. It's the music you love, live and loud. Tickets, hotel, and camping info available at countrythunder.com.
Dean Brody and the Wreck Loss, teaming up for the Hometown Heroes Tour.
If there's work, you know I'm gonna work.
Live at Temple Garden Center, November 9th.
Can't blame nobody else. I can't help myself.
Two of Canada's biggest country acts. One stage, one unforgettable night on the Hometown Heroes Tour. Tickets on sale now at the Temple Garden Center box office or online at sasktix.ca.
Across America, Country Thunder Music Festivals bring you the biggest superstars. See unforgettable performances by Zach Top, Lainey Wilson, Brooks and Dunn, Keith Urban, Riley Green, the Red Clay Strays, Kane Brown, Gavin Adcock, and so many more. Join the party under the desert sky in Arizona, on the sandy shores of the Gulf in Florida, or in gorgeous Wisconsin Lake Country. It's the music you love, live and loud. Tickets, hotel, and camping info available at countrythunder.com.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
It would be a disservice to bring Moose on and not talk football. So a lot of people have written in about Country Thunder. I'll wait until Moose is gone. He's here for a football Friday. Kirk in Toronto. So hang on, Vintage Sasko. Great question, but we got to wait. Kirk in Toronto writes in. He says, hey, Rod, my son is catching football Friday from Cleveland. How about that? He's there visiting the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's a short drive from Toronto. Sean in Vancouver writes in. He says, great to see Moose back on the air. We miss you, Moose. What's your take on the Argos at the Blue Bomber? We did talk about a little bit about earlier, like with Drew Brown starting. Who would you pick to win the game tonight?
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough game. This is a really tough game, a really interesting game. You look at Toronto, and after, their defense, I don't know what you want to say happened to their defense against Calgary when Vernon Adams Jr. went off. I don't think there's a problem with Toronto's offense. Chad Kelly is elite, playing at an elite level, doing all the things to win games. But you can't be giving up 58 points and win football games.
Murph basically said they were tired from crisscrossing the country and never being home. That was his reason. I'm just gonna say.
Okay, figure out the jet lag. I figured it out going all over the world. You can, you're a professional athlete. I don't think in today's world the travel's issues, but maybe it is.
That's good.
Maybe it is.
That's good.
It's a lot to, but no excuses. No excuses. Their defense has to be better. Now, Drew Brown, if you're Winnipeg and you see what Calgary did, it's going to be a heavy dose of Brady Oliveira. It's going to be a heavy dose of keeping the ball because you're going to. You should be able to move the ball in that defense the way they've been playing. But it's their offense. So what does Winnipeg's defense do? Can they keep Toronto off the board? It's a very interesting game. I think it could be kind of a swing game in either one of these teams' seasons because Toronto shows that they can beat teams like Saskatchewan and hang with the top teams in the league. Winnipeg needs this pretty badly too.
Oh, yeah. I think they're 0-2 at home. We've all picked Toronto to win tonight. Should be fun. I'll see if I'll be back from Craven or not to watch it. I don't know. But again, we'll talk about that after the break. The viewers voted Calgary-Montreal as the game of the week by a lot. That's Saturday. And the Ticats are at the Riders Sunday at 5 Mountain. Your thoughts on those weekend games before I get to that NFL question?
Yeah, the Calgary-Montreal game is the big litmus test. I mean, Calgary did what they did against Toronto, but it's the saying, I've been watching, Wimbledon's been going on. You got a break serve to win, and a break isn't a break until you win the next point, consolidate it. You got to win with your serve. So Toronto just put the league on notice, Calgary put the league on notice, 58 points. Now you got to do it against Davis Alexander and the Montreal Alouettes. And you do it against them, holy smokes, we got to look out for Calgary. So this is a really big game for Calgary to put the league on notice.
Yeah, don't be fooled by the 58 points. By that reminds me of the Miami Dolphins hanging 70 on Sean Payton's Denver Broncos a couple of years in Sean's first year in Denver. How's that worked out? Denver was in the conference championship last year, and the Dolphins missed the playoffs again. So I'm just saying, offense sells tickets, defense
you do
wins
it once.
Championships. Yeah,
it's okay.
Right.
You got to do it twice.
Yeah, right. Riders, Ticats, any thoughts there? Shouldn't be close.
Unfortunately not. The Bow news is really tough, and that sucks just for football fans of the Canadian Football League not to have a premier quarterback in. Good opportunity. I think Dolagala, right, is going to start. So good opportunity for him. He's running out of chances too, but good opportunity for him. But Riders should be favored and by a little bit.
The viewers are they're jumping on the Tom Dundon putting his entire family's names on the Stanley Cup. But what do we say here? If you don't like what we're talking about, hang on. We'll be talking about something else in 2 minutes, and that's where we are. I'll get to all the comments on that after the break because the National Football League, it's never far from our hearts. And I just had to step down because I'm going to ask Murph next hour about the Brendan Sorsby thing. He's been banned from the CFL, and I don't know that anybody's going to touch him in the NFL draft. Is he the number one story in the NFL right now? I mean, nobody's really thinking about it. They're not in camp yet. I get that. But just off the top of your head, what's the number one story going into the season?
I think it was that, but I think that's over now. They've definitively ruled, and I don't think that's a story anymore. I think that's come and gone. I think the NFL wants it that way. There's a few, I'm kind of in my mind in the break. I'm like, okay, what's the number one story? And the first thing feels like consistently, it goes away for a little bit, comes back, but consistently keeps popping its head up throughout the whole season has been this quarterback situation in Minnesota.
Okay.
That for me is it. J.J. McCarthy and Kyler Murray. What's Kevin O'Connell going to do? He was just asked about it by Dan Patrick down at the golf tournament that he's at in Tahoe. It's coming up all the time. That's one. I'll give you just a few that are on the top of my mind. Myles Garrett being in L.A., and they're putting a team together to win the Super Bowl in L.A. Maybe we got to go back in February to L.A. for the Super Bowl. You and I could be down for that.
Me too.
How about Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy getting back together in Pittsburgh? It's not going to be like the old days, but they're back together. So those are kind of
story.
Those are kind of the three that popped up. And then Dak. Did you see the photos of Dak going around yesterday with his massive biceps? He looks huge. Like he's been working out.
God, not Vrabel, Diana Rossini. Oh my God. Because that keeps
Hasn't it
up
been
too.
A minute since we were sending memes back and forth and dying laughing on a daily basis?
But then, like once every 3 days, something pops up on that. Still, like Des Bryant tweeting it the other day. We've not hardly talked about it here at all, but she was out on a vacation with her husband and 2 kids, and Des Bryant's like, there is no way that I would be doing that. Like, oh my God, it ain't going away. It's not going away.
I know we're going to, coming on the show and hopefully coming on a little bit more, you got to get a segment, the best things I found on the internet today. And you should just post photos for 5 minutes.
Oh my God. That would be great.
It would be so good.
A lot of them we can't post. I'll send you the
Donald
one that
Trump
I sent
in the
Joe
VAR room.
Yeah, right. So the guys wanted a Craven story, and I'll get to mine after the break when you're gone. But were you ever a Country Thunder guy or Craven Big Valley Jamboree?
Never been.
Never been.
I'm a country music guy. I've never been to Craven.
Well, I don't think you're probably going now, but who knows? I mean, with our new deal with Creator Aid, the influencer ad agency, just so people know, it's a different time of the world. Craven didn't shower me with passes and parking and all the rest. And hey, Rod, here's a camera. Go nuts. And that's kind of what I'm going to be doing today and Sunday and maybe even Saturday, depending on how it goes. So,
didn't they used to confiscate cameras at the gate? Not for real, but they probably should have not given you a camera to go nuts.
Thank God there were no smartphones in my heyday, or, well, I wouldn't be sitting here. I'll tell you that for free. But I am now the guy that we used to laugh at. I'm the guy that'll be driving out in my white shoes. I'll be you. You know,
Yes.
dressed like you are now and not getting a speck of dust on me. And then leaving before the sun goes down and showering and sleeping in my own bed. Unlike the 40,000 people that are out at Craven, Saskatchewan right now, living like freaking animals. And God bless them. A buddy of mine this morning, Guy is his name, is an oil man. He goes, Rod, you could probably go through the campground and tap on every door of every camper and they would know you. I'm like, yes. And that was a huge, huge problem. Very big problem. I did do that. Yeah, so no, I'm like, well, I might. We'll see. We'll see. It's going to be hot. You know what that means? You know what that means at Craven, right? You know what that means?
Oh, yeah. All the good things. It means good things.
It means great things. Yeah.
Yeah, but I get it. You got to go. You got to knock on all the trailers, and of course, you got to stop in for a beer at each one. I'm sure Craven was the thing that single-handedly knocked you into.
Well, by the way, it was there was quite a few things, but how close I am with these people, which I can't. I'm texting with them all morning. They're like, "We get it. You can't come out here because you stopped. We get it. We get it." But in 2010, they were like, Rod, we would like you to meet George Strait because we know that's your guy. And I'm like, excuse me, it sounded like you said you want me to meet George Strait. And they're like, yeah, I didn't even ask. And they brought me into a trailer to meet the king of country. Like, that's how good these people are. And they never went anywhere. I went down another road for 11 years. And now they're like, can you come back? Are you good? I'm like, I'm good. We're going to find out. So, Moose, have a great weekend, man. Thanks for everything. This has been fun.
Yeah, you bet. Enjoy the rest of the show. Good to see you.
All right. We'll get to those questions and everything else when we come back. Follow him on Instagram and Twitter at Darren Dupont, everybody. The Moose. And we'll be right back here on the RP Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
You have a vision, a big idea. But how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events. That's the EMJ difference.
We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
All right. It's always fun when the Moose comes on. We appreciate that. Like I said, give him a follow at Darren Dupont. He's traveling all over the world, as he said, with his new venture, his new job at Home Team Productions. So, as I said, we would get to all the viewers' questions once Moose vacated. I'll just tell you that when we talk hockey, it's brought to you by the Mad Greek Eatery. Are you craving the ribs, the famous Greek ribs that everyone is raving about? Well, all you got to do is go in there and ask for John, the Mad Greek. Even if he's not there, order yours at the Mad Greek Eatery. Just say, hey, the RP show sent you. That would help us out a great deal. Downtown Main Street, Moose Jaw. I'm wearing this shirt today not because of Moose. It's because my Moose Jaw Miller Express baseball team is number one in the entire WCBL, baby. We're kicking the crap out of everybody. So before I get to the actual sports questions, Vintage Sasko wrote in here earlier, and I appreciate him. 902-518-3033. I'm just trying to call up the text message for Western Dodge. He says, hi, Father Rod and Two Smokes Moose. What's the number one sport at Craven? Cornhole, beer pong, illegal fishing? Signed, Craven 2005 survivor, Sasko. No, back in the day, they had a thing. Remember those life-size molded horses? They had this thing going on in Fort Whoop up the beer gardens. For $6, you can sit on that horse with a lasso and rope people. And the deal was as soon as you missed, you had to get off the horse. How was I raised? Farm, ranch, in the rodeo. So I was sitting on the horse. I was roping people for like an hour. And they ended up, and then I would like rope the gals in bikinis and the buckle bunnies. I would rope them. Hell of a conversation starter. And then they would keep coming up and go, you got to get off. Why? The deal says you can sit on here until you miss, and I haven't missed. So finally, after an hour, they're like, you got to get off the horse. I'm like, well, give me my money back then. I wasn't going to miss. That was so much fun. 902-518. I don't know if they are doing that still. I'll find out today. Bob writes in, he says, good day, Rod and Moose. Bob from Medicine Hat, back watching your awesome show. Have a great day, you guys. With the owner of the Carolina Hurricanes putting his wife and kids' name on the Stanley Cup. David writes that he says, what did those kids do to better the team? It doesn't matter. And to be honest, I'm not sure there's a written down criteria as to what it takes to get your name on the Stanley Cup. If the owner wants to put his wife and kids' names on, this is the way it is now. Darren said it better than I ever could. He said the president or commissioner doesn't run the league anymore. The owners do. And they get what they want. David also says, Rod, you and I are of the same mind. I could not handle being almost the great unwashed. What he means by that is, I said, we used to laugh at the people that would go to Craven only for the day. We're out there for 5 friggin' days. By Friday, we're so worn out and hungover and still drunk. And just by Friday, we're ready to go home. And everybody's just showing up then. So we're going to start all over. Wayne in BC writes in, he says, hey, Rod, I should know the answer, but did Dominguez and Ray Williams get their names on the cup? No, they didn't. And I don't know who in the world they ended up having to petition, whether it was the CFL or the riders themselves, but the criteria at that time probably still is you had to have played in the Grey Cup game. Here's the roster. And that's what goes on the trophy. They didn't play. It really wasn't that hard. Kirk in Toronto. Hey, Rod, can the Argo defense stop Drew Brown tonight? They couldn't when he was in Ottawa. That's what makes it must-see TV. I say it all the time. This was my game of the week tonight, or this week, and still is. You all said Calgary, Montreal, and that's fine. That's why we have a vote. With the sports radio, I get it. I don't know how the Toronto people would feel. And just so you know, I mean, I'm not just some guy sitting here yapping it up on the yak box every single day. Like, I've dedicated my life to this trade. I've been married 3 times, and this is my first love is this. Sorry to all that's affected. But I've studied it. We've watched the documentaries. The very first sports station was WFAN in New York, Mike and Mike, right? And that's a great documentary on ESPN. And in Canada, CJCL, the fan, which has become the Fan 590, the first one in Canada. They're both still going. But can you people in Eastern Canada imagine not having your all-sports radio station? You probably can. And that's what's going on in Calgary and Vancouver right now. But what I'm telling you all is, and especially for the older people, let's just go back and remember to the days when we didn't have all sports radio back then. We're going back. And I mentioned this the other day. Zach, if you're still watching, you're too young. The young people are more shaken up about this than the older people. There's a book called Leaders Eat Last by Simon Sinek. You should go read it. And in there it said generations and just the world and culture swings every 25 to 30 years. And the pendulum, thank God, is coming back. The suits ruin it. I remember when we had the bubble and the Stanley Cup, or the NHL season. Remember they played in the bubble, and they had empty arenas for a whole season. We had the All-Canadian division, which to me was the greatest thing ever. All 7 Canadian teams in one division. And Eric Duhatschek wrote in The Athletic, he goes, we can't have an All-Canadian division. You can't have birthday cake every day. And I'm like, why not? You can't have birthday cake every day. They ruin it. Too much of a good thing is too much, is my point. If you want to go one step further, when I was a little kid, I used to, like, Janice had a thing the other day. She goes, what did you discover later in life or in a certain stage in your life that you loved as a kid? And for me, it was reading and writing. And I used to read all the books by Bob Costas and Harry Carey and Howard Cosell. I read all the Bob Uecker. I read them all. And Bob Costas said in St. Louis, there was 1 hour of sports talk a week on KMOX radio Monday nights at 6 o'clock, Cardinals hour. 1 hour was the whole city tuned in for it. But when you spread it out 24 hours a day, it dilutes everything and it doesn't make it as good. So with this station going off the air, it sucks, but it's great for shows like this. Vancouver Eric writes that he says, no reaction or comment from the Canucks to the radio closures. No surprise with the logo on the side of that building. Rogers is the logo on the side of that building, right? I've been there. Rogers Arena. There's so many Rogers. Rogers Center, Rogers Place, Rogers Arena. I mean, that's the way the Canucks are, though. Nobody's ever said they're a classy organization. I'm sorry to say it. Nobody says that about them. I look at the Stampeders making their statement the other day about Fan 960. I don't know if the Flames did or not, but that says something about Dave Dickinson and the Calgary Stampeders. We don't fight anymore. We used to, but that was just a fun rivalry thing. Brian writes in, he says, here in Winnipeg, the same radio station that broadcasts every Bomber and Jets game also has a 2-hour sports show during the week to talk about all sports. It's better than nothing. Yeah, and you're listening for it. But TSN 1290 there went off the air, and Gregor had it right when he said it can be done right because they're doing it up in Edmonton. Those are all locally owned stations in Winnipeg, largely, right? At least it wasn't one time. I think Chorus is based out of there. And Sports 1440 Edmonton, Gregor. Nobody's getting rich up there, but they're all making a living, and they're doing great radio. This Rogers decisions are all coming out of Toronto. BW says AM radio is dying. In the Edmonton region, there has been 4 low 5,000-watt stations in the past 8 years. Okay, we opened that box. Darren in Melfort says, I've never been to Craven, and there's probably a reason for that. If I had, there probably wouldn't be Craven anymore. No, there would be Craven. There would be no you. And I'm speaking from experience on that. We got hung up on, one, last night's Edmonton-Ottawa game. 2, NHL, Anaheim Ducks matching the offer sheet for Leo Carr. 3, Tom Dundon putting his whole family's name on the Stanley Cup. And we kind of got stopped there. Point 4, Rory McIlroy began getting into the mood for the final major of the year by taking advantage of the par 5s at the Renaissance Club for a 5 under 65, giving him a 5-way share of the lead Thursday in the Genesis Scottish Open. I meant to get to that with Moose because he's a golf guy, but we didn't. Point 5. Who didn't see this coming? The Toronto Raptors and LA Clippers announced Thursday the trade to send Kawhi Leonard back to the Raptors has been put on hold pending the results of an NBA investigation into the Clippers' potential circumvention of the salary cap through a third-party company. The two teams agreed to a trade on June 30th. Was I the only one when that trade went down going, have they wrapped this investigation up? I got to be somewhat careful here with what I say, but it's like the NHL investigated Mike Babcock, whatever went down in Columbus. So when the Oilers wanted to hire him, they had to finish up that investigation that goes back to 2023. You didn't wrap it up then? You didn't wrap up this Kawhi Leonard thing? People are like, these are major sports leagues owned by billionaires. They can't screw up, do they? Yes, they can. And they often do. Are you stuck for gift ideas? Suds gift cards available online at our location or at Costco. They're the ultimate for anyone who loves a clean ride. Visit sudsregina.com. Just so you know, and God bless Tony from Saskatoon who tries to get me to talk golf. Like I don't hide anything, and that's what people love and hate about me. I dislike golf. And I was telling this story yesterday to a buddy who said, you need to get out and golf. I said, no, I don't. I don't want to. And I said, the nice thing about living in Florida is my friends that golf, they never asked me to golf. I made that very clear right from the start. And the point is, we had a golf course around Regina that sponsored this show back in the day. I had unlimited golf for me and all my friends. And I had two rider coaches that were up me. I think I got to finish this story after the break because it's going to take longer than the 30 seconds that I have left. Anyways, we'll keep it all going. All of your comments are great. We'll just roll it over into hour 2, and Murphy's going to join us for a big old football talk then. So top up your coffee, hit the John, do what you got to do. Get your comments in 902-518-3033, and we'll be right back after this.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
You have a vision, a big idea, but how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events, that's the EMJ difference. We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
You have a vision, a big idea, but how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events, that's the EMJ difference. We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
Business owners and marketers, Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
How about that?
It's a little thing that we like to call Football Friday here on the RP Show. Glad that you're aboard. And for your luck, you're in luck. The great John Murphy will be joining us in the guest segment coming up, brought to you by our friends at Prairie Panels. We're welcoming the viewers across Las Vegas and Nevada on Silver State Sports. Still rocking and rolling on Game Plus, streaming across Canada, WQVZ Radio in the U.S. South. Hello, Ryan O'Radio. Hope you got a great weekend in store. I know I do. I'm going to be heading out to, we've been talking about it for months, Country Thunder, the biggest party this summer. It actually started last night, and I'll be heading out there. I don't know what the numbers are going to be. We'll find out. 40,000 back of the day showing up, outdoor country music festival. I haven't been there for 11 years since I quit drinking. This is the first time I'll go back. But it's all my great friends are still up. They never went anywhere. I was the one who had to tap out. But we signed this new deal yesterday with Creator Aid. It was announced after we got off the air yesterday. Influencer ad agency. They're like, here, Rod, here's a pass, here's a camera, here's parking. Get out there, go have fun. So go follow at Rod Pedersen Official throughout the weekend. We're going to have big time at the big old country and Western music festival at Craven. They've been sponsoring this show for months. And they're all across North America, Florida, Arizona, Wisconsin. Yeah. Okay, but it is Football Friday. This is the warm-up brought to you by our friends at Uniglobe Carefree Travel. And 1 hour ago, when we were on the air across Canada, we opened with the Canadian Football League. Week 6 opened last night. I didn't even talk about World Cup. But for the sake of us, this is the U.S. hour. Kylian Mbappe, World Cup, had a goal and an assist after missing a first-half penalty kick. Ousmane Dembele also scored. And two-time champion France beat Morocco 2-0 Thursday in the quarterfinals. Mbappe's goal in the 60th minute was the 20th of his World Cup career and came in his 20th match at the tournament, moving him one behind Lionel Messi. I love the way that they say that. France will face either Spain or Belgium in the semifinals in Dallas on Tuesday, and they played Friday afternoon. They are playing Friday afternoon. So many of you watch this show after the fact. That game will be over by the time you even hear this. But it was the fun poll question yesterday. Are you still following the World Cup? And I got to be honest, 70% of you said, yes, you are. So I would be a donkey to not mention it. I'm not really. I'm just following the scores. Point two, let's say this for fun. Justin Rankin and the Edmonton Elks were back to their newfound winning ways on Thursday night. The Edmonton running back scored 3 big play touchdowns as Edmonton came away with a 40-17 victory over the struggling Ottawa Red Blacks. Because there is no NFL going on right now, but we will be talking to Murph about it in the next segment when he joins us. Nevada Wolfpack great quarterback Cody Fajardo went 19 of 24 for 340 yards and 2 touchdowns. And what do we say? Death, taxes, and Fajardo winning. Those are the 3 things you can count on in life. And Cody liked my Instagram post on that, so I feel like I'm winning at life. And week 6 continues tonight with a Friday night showdown. The Toronto Argonauts, under the guidance of their quarterback, Chad Kelly, Jim Kelly's nephew, don't you know, will visit Winnipeg with backup quarterback Drew Brown starting. The Quick Six show topics are brought to you by Uniglobe Carefree Travel Group, the preferred travel partner of the RP show, and the CFL's BC Lions. Just so you know, BC's off this week. When it comes to sports trips, group travel, or your next great getaway, trust the pros who handle every detail so you can enjoy the journey. Contact Neil Chark with Uniglobe Carefree Travel. There is one particular thing that has grabbed the viewers' attention more than any other, and I'm getting to that. It's what will be 4, I guess, of the Quick Six show topics. 1 was World Cup, 2 was CFL, 3 National Hockey League. The Anaheim Ducks have matched the Philadelphia Flyers offer sheet for center Leo Carlsson, keeping their rising young star at an extraordinary cost. The Ducks announced their decision Thursday on the 21-year-old Carlsson, who is now the NHL's highest-paid player under the 5-year, $90 million deal extended by the Flyers 1 week ago. They had a week to match, and they did it on Thursday. And I'll just say this, because we did talk about this yesterday. The owners of the Ducks, the Samueli family, issued a statement saying we have extremely high expectations of Leo Carlsson. Basically saying, they said, we feel he's worth the money, but we have extremely high expectations of him. And then afterwards, he addressed the media, Leo Carlsson, at 21 years of age, and talked about the pressure associated with this. This is the one thing. Actually, I'm going to get to the next point because it all kind of rolls into one. Carolina Hurricanes owner Tom Dundon's decision to include his family on the Stanley Cup has become a lightning rod for controversy online. Dundon, his wife Vrushka, and children Caden, Dax, Drew, Blake, and Tegan are the first names engraved on the historic trophy's side to immortalize Carolina's Stanley Cup win in June. The Dundon names appear before any players or staff, including MVP of the playoffs Jordan Stahl, general manager Eric Tulsky, and head coach Rod Brindamore. You know, the people that actually won it for the Dundon family. But for the benefit of those that weren't watching in hour 1, Moose Dupont was with me, and that was the one thing that he wanted to talk about. And this all kind of rolls into how sports has changed and whether it's good or bad. And believe me, the viewers, they've had all kinds of opinions on this, whether it's right or not that the Hurricanes owner could put his wife and kids' name on the cup. Apparently in the 80s, Peter Pocklington of the Edmonton Oilers, the owner, had his dad's name put on the cup, and the NHL took it off. Back then, the franchises were worth $100. Now they're worth at least $1 billion, in some cases more. And if you own $1 billion team, it makes you a billionaire, right? They can do whatever the hell they want. And that's the poll question for Country Thunder, which is into day 2 of the biggest party this summer. Get your tickets. You still can at countrythunder.com/SK for the biggest party this summer. Gavin Adcock on stage tonight, the bad boy from Georgia. I'm actually really excited for Sunday night. And Lainey Wilson, of course, we've been talking about it for months. But anyways, the poll question is it right for owners' families' names to be on the trophy? And so you can vote on that. If you're watching on YouTube, you can vote on our Instagram page at The Rod Pedersen Show. Just so you know, you might be surprised. It's 50-50 on Instagram, or at least it was the last that I looked. And when I brought up Moose's name, who was co-hosting with us last hour, he said it's changed. You know, back then, the owners didn't run the league. The president did, John A. Ziegler. Now the owners run the league in every regard. They really do in the NFL. I mean, Roger Goodell's got the biggest whip and the biggest chair of holding them back of any commissioner. But the fact of the matter is the owners get whatever the hell they want. They get the trophy first, and now they get their kids' names on the cup. So I understand everybody's upset about this, or a lot are anyways. Like, some people are just going way off the deep end about it. Not you specifically, Kevin the Medium, but he wrote in and said, it doesn't affect my life, so why does it? No, that's not about that. It's not about that. Like John writes, and he says, the owners get to do whatever they want. Doesn't mean it's correct. Guy, I'll just do you a favor and say, if you're sitting around waiting for everything to happen in life that's correct or make sense or be fair, you're going to have a very upset life. You're welcome. He or she who owns the gold makes the rules. End of story. That's never changed. That's never changed. The only difference now is the gold is worth way more than it used to be. So that rule is even more enforced now. Period. End of story. Now, Utah Darren makes a really good point. He writes in, he says, only Tom Dundon would even think of souring winning the Stanley Cup. You guys all got to understand something here for a second. He doesn't care. He doesn't care what I think. He doesn't care what you think. He doesn't care what the fans think. He doesn't care what Rod Brindamore thinks. That's the other thing that goes along with having that much money. I wouldn't really know. I'm not a billionaire, but I don't see any of them actually seeming to care what anybody else thinks. You have to understand that. The one problem that I have with guys like that, and they're not all like that. I got to be, straight with you. There are some really good billionaire owners in sports, and I'm not just saying this because we're on the air in Vegas. We got a really good relationship with the Golden Knights, but Bill Foley's not like that. I talked to all of his staff, and look at the success that he's had, but they're not all like that. For the most part, they don't care. But the other thing is, I get a real kick out of the fact that they're ruthless and they're heartless. And blah, 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 which is they are. That's what's got them to where they are. But the second you say anything critical of them, a lot of them cry like little babies. Like the Baltimore Ravens owner, Bisciotti, when he fired John Harbaugh and Tony Dungy went after him, and he's like, what's Dungy ever done? They just can't take the slightest bit of criticism, which I don't understand, because they want to act so ruthless and heartless with their staff in a lot of cases, but then turn around and can't handle a little bit of criticism. I don't get that, but I never will. So Murph's watching. Oh, so he's got some thoughts. I like it. He says the crazy part is not every Hurricanes player will have their name on the cup. Well, they don't own the team, so go buy a team. Maybe you'll be able to. That's kind of what it bears down to. Maybe we'll put this to Murph in the next segment. We're trying to keep it to U.S. topics. Coach Matt DeBuck, who was on here on Wednesday, hour one is Canada when we're on in Game Plus. We talked like an hour of CFL in hour one. So in hour two, after 1 p.m. Eastern, I try to get it to the U.S. topics. But because you're my buddy, he writes then, he says, Rod, do you think Ryan Dinwiddie and Jeff R. kind of thought they were not as down as they are? That offensive line is not like that is a hyper-specific CFL question right there about the Ottawa football team who got their ass handed to them last night 40-15 by the Edmonton Elkamos. And we'll get into that in the next segment with John Murphy. We'll get into it, Coach. We will. On the NHL thing, Vancouver Eric writes, then he says, Leo Carlson needs to go have a beer with EP40 and discuss contract pressure. He's talking about Elias Pedersen of the Vancouver Canucks, who's the highest paid Vancouver Canuck, and he has dropped the ball with the big contract. Thank you, Carlos in Indiana, for pointing out it's 1:11 Eastern. I can tell you this. I can offer this. Visualize a positive outcome. It works. And live there. And just let everybody else catch up. Back to my topics. Coach, I'll get to the CFL questions in the next segment with Murph. How about that? Because there's a lot going on. Point 5, Rory McIlroy began getting into the mood for the final major of the year by taking advantage of the par fives at the Renaissance Club for a 5 under 65, giving him a 5-way share of the lead Thursday in the Genesis Scottish Open. Patrick Cantley made a little noise in an otherwise quiet year for the American with 5 birdies and 10 holes and then a collection of tough par saves at the end that felt just as valuable. He also was at 65, along with Tom Kim, Bernard Weisberger, and Rasmus Højgaard. Here's the thing about golf. This is not Sports Center. We've 1,774 episodes of this show. That proves we kind of know what we're doing. But I don't like golf. So the story that I started getting into at the end of hour one and I ran out of time was we had a golf course that sponsored this show back in the day. It was Unlimited Golf. That wife of mine was a scratch golfer, so she loved it. But I wasn't good at golf. And what I say, I was telling that story last hour, but I can throw a lasso and I can rope anything. but I wasn't good at golf. And she said, all you got to do is do it more. You've got the swing. You've got everything you need. You just need to do it more. I'm like, I don't want to do it more. I don't want to spend 10 hours at the golf course Saturday having breakfast before the round, then 5 hours on the course, and then supper after. I don't want to do that. And then 10 hours on Sunday. That's 20 hours out of my weekend doing frickin' nothing, something that I hate. Are you all starting to understand my thoughts on golf? I think, DeBuck, you're the same way, because Mark Tressman invited us over to Naples to golf. And I'm like, I'm trying to find a way to tell Tressman, I don't want to golf. Can we do something else? But anyways, there were some Rough Riders coaches, one of them who might be named Mike Davis, who's like, come on, take me golf. And I'm like, Mike, no, I'm bad. It's embarrassing. Well, it doesn't matter. It's just about getting together. Come on. So I bring him out, and our offensive line coach, Steven Sorrells, and they got depth finders, and they got all the apps and the watch and this. I'm like, this isn't fun. At least it's not for me. And I'm spraying my tee shots right, left, topping them, duffing them. I'm like, and my wife says to me, why don't you come down and hit from the ladies' tees? I don't think I'm going to repeat what I said. I told a guy on the phone yesterday, and he was laughing so hard that I thought I'd lost the line. Are you still there? He was, I don't like golf, okay? Point 5. The Raptors and Clippers announced on Thursday the trade to send Kawhi Leonard back to the Raptors has been put on hold pending the results of an NBA investigation into the Clippers' potential circumvention of the salary cap through a third-party company, Aspiration. The deal was made on June 30th. And, yeah, like I said last hour, who didn't think that was going to be a problem? That investigation into them circumventing, paying him from the company. That's been going on forever, by the way. I'm just shocked. Like in sports. Oh, we have the salary cap. We have you on paper for this, but the owner owns these other 5 companies. We're going to pay you from those companies. Somebody blew the whistle on Kawhi, and they don't have the investigation wrapped up, and now the trade is halted. My guess says they'll wrap it up within a week, and Kawhi Leonard will be playing for the Raptors next week, but that's just a guess. Murph is joining us next. It's brought to you by Prairie Panels. Building a shop, barn, rink, or commercial space, Prairie Panels provides high-quality insulated wall and roof panels designed for durability and energy efficiency. Visit prairiepanels.ca. They're making hockey shooting lanes as well, if you can believe. It's absolutely wild. Okay, ball for all. NFL, CFL, a little college when John Murphy, 4-time Grey Cup champion, joins us next from Houston here on Silver State Sports, Game Plus, and WQVZ.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
You have a vision, a big idea. But how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events. That's the EMJ difference. We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live. Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
All right, welcome back. Open and shut case. Thank you. Coach DeBuck says he doesn't have time for golf either. Okay, we got to tell Tressman, pick something else when we go to Naples. Maybe we can all just go for lunch. All right. Murph joins. Hey, Murph, I don't think you have time for golf either in Houston, Texas. Do you?
No, and I have enough people whacking my you-know-whats that I don't need to go out and hit one myself.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay, that's 3 of us. Okay, we'll all go find something else to do. John Murphy joining us, 4-time Grey Cup champion. Appreciate you, Murph. Listen, I said that we would talk some more NFL today, so before we delve into Week 6, that's why a lot of people have come here today is to talk about the CFL stuff, but can I just ask you what you think is the number one story going into the NFL season? Moose was talking about it last hour. And I don't want to catch you off guard, but he said the Vikings starting quarterback situation, the Brendan Sorsby thing, does he go in the draft next year? I don't know. What's the number one story going into the year for you?
Yeah, I think it's the same as any league. If we're going to talk any level of football from junior football in Regina all the way up to the NFL, it's always going to be who is going to be the quarterback this year, that just comes out and takes over the season. How's it going to be with Mahomes? Is Joe Burrow ever going to have a healthy season where, him and the Bengals put up enough points where they're relative and relevant, in their own division to make a playoff push? CJ Stroud, can he play well enough to earn himself a contract and that we see the Texans play, deep into the playoffs? If Daniel Jones is healthy, are the Colts the team they played the first 10 or 12 weeks, or are they the team we saw down the stretch, Josh Allen, right? You can literally name a quarterback and you now talk about their situation. Can Josh Allen get over the hump? What's going on with Dak Prescott and all those weapons, but they have no defense because they have all those weapons. So I think in the NFL, it's always going to be measured about those franchise quarterbacks. And then the difference being, is he a true franchise quarterback or does he just happen to be your franchise quarterback? Because how you're building around that and what happens if your guy just doesn't show up that year and play the way you expect, you're seeing a lot of teams then try to hit the reset button. And teams have done it 2 completely different ways. You're either looking to hit the jackpot, get that draft pick quarterback and ride his salary for 5 years and build around him, or you're doing the Rams, which is basically like the Knicks, F them picks. We're into getting players that can win right now for us. We'll build around it and we'll deal with the salary cap implications later. And I think there's a really exciting NFL season ahead because when have you seen the possibilities? Can you imagine if Aaron Donald actually considers coming out of retirement to play with Myles Garrett and the rest of what's on that Rams team? You're probably looking at a season where I have no doubt there's probably 4 or 5 teams that are going to end up with 12 plus wins. And then there's probably somebody we're expecting to make a playoff run that is going to be sitting there in October and November and wondering how they're having such a poor season.
Well, we're seeing why these U.S. shows talk about this for hours and hours and hours on end, because you can, and it never gets old. And Moose was saying last hour about, I guess there's videos of Dak Prescott out there with bulging arms. He's spending all this time in the weight room. I don't care. Murphy, you and I, we've had the great pleasure of being around Grey Cups, Super Bowls, Hall of Famers. When I was at the Super Bowl, I see Joe Montana. I see Joe Namath. These are average-looking dudes. The Hall of Famers are not on the cover of Muscle and Fitness. I don't care how big Dak's arms are. Win a game in the last minute. Show me that. Even Tom Brady didn't start posing in a bathing suit till after he played. I'm sorry. The Cowboys get me riled up.
Well, and Prescott's, in the world where the problem he has is you have to be the last one with the ball, because right now it can't just be that you run your 2-minute drill, because then you see the other team come down and kick a game-winning field goal against you or make a play, against your defense, because it's very much the same. Even though in the NFL, the salary cap and the contracts are worldly different than what we deal with in the CFL, you still see if you're paying a $50 million quarterback, you better have the best front office you can in your division or in your conference or in the league in order to deal with the moving parts of then finding guys that can play, because you cannot just pay everybody. And you see that kind of with, how they're built, right now. They need Caleb Downs to come in and be a dude right away and make an impact on that secondary. They need their second and third year pass rushers to show up this year and make plays, because they cannot go pay and get a $20 million pass rusher when you have 2 $30 million receivers and a $50 million quarterback.
I laughed. I mean, well, the other thing is you're sitting there in Texas, so you get this. You can't reason with Cowboys fans either. Well, I can't have this conversation with Dallas Cowboy fans, because it's just they love Dak no matter what. It's just they're not. DeBuck's watching in Fort Lauderdale. He says nobody has picked up Tyreek Hill. Why? He's asking questions he already knows the answer to, Murph. I mean, the word is out. This guy must be a super bad dude if you're not going to sign a guy that runs 22 miles an hour. He's faster than most vehicles.
Well, I think it's a combination. At the point of diminished returns, it's the diminished returns is how willing am I to babysit what comes with it, when at this stage, the injury factor, you can, as a world-class athlete, get back to rehab, from an injury, be training, in a wide open scenario with no contact and anything. But, is he really going to dynamically change what your team and roster looks like? And I think a lot of teams that are looking at it would rather try other avenues first and then say, all right, if we need him in November, you know what? Now it's just a 6 or 8 or 10 week thing, and we might get him on best behavior, be able to get him in the door, out the door, and not have it be, something that's detrimental to what we're doing overall. Because do you really want to have Tyreek Hill in day one of training camp, no matter what team you are? Unlikely that you want that as being somebody that's front and center on the camera, and that your coaching staff is being asked about every day. What's his role? Because guys will tell you what role they will accept in January or February, and then be complaining about it very quickly, in July, August, and September. So sometimes they err on the side of safety with it when there's a little bit of diminished returns. And a guy in his 30s with multiple injuries and the off-field stuff, I would think Tyreek Hill is more of a September, October signing.
There you go, Coach. All right, so they are dying to get your take on the CFL stuff. Edmonton, 40-17 was the final, beating Ottawa last night. I don't know if the Red Blacks are going to win a game. What was your take on the game last night?
Yeah, I mean, until that fourth quarter, it was 16-14. So there's things there, but it's now 17 total turnovers in 5 games. You can't have that. The number of penalties was not extraordinary, but when and how they took those penalties, right? Two of them on the offensive line that you could really not deal with. those times because you're now in 1st and 15 and you're just killing yourself. And then I think just like last week where you have a play, McDonald makes a great catch. He made a super athletic play with his balance to not really touch the ground, but his elbow does graze the turf, and you don't get the first down, and you kind of argue over it on the sideline, and then you decide to punt, and they return it. Matthew Sexton takes it to the house, and the game kind of turned, on that play. And I think you're making some decisions that are based off of what you're seeing out of your offense, but then you're having all the expectation that the defense just continue to play that way for 4 quarters. If they do, you might have had a different outcome. You might have gotten the ball back, and Meyer would have had a chance again, like they did, a few weeks ago, to possibly, put you in, ability to win or tie the game late. But when you're putting it on the defense to do that, and you're playing without Bennett Williams, the pass rush is not getting home. Cleon Lang did, but Bryce Carter's paid to be a premier pass rusher. He's not influencing the game. Niles Morgan is an excellent between the tackles linebacker, not influencing the game. There's no turnovers. A.J. Allen created the 1 turnover, but has he really made an impact as being the highest paid Canadian linebacker in the league? No, not to date. So you're not getting out of your premier players what you need, right? Geno Lewis had a catch on the last drive of the game. He had 1 target for no yards in the first half. It's not really survivable to say that Greg Bell, even with missing week 1, has under 150 yards rushing on the season. So if you're turning the ball over like that, you're running for less than 4 yards a carry, you're going to have struggles in the CFL. And I know they want instant, sort of an instant response or an instant reaction to it. But I would say one of the things that, Ryan and I and the Argos benefited from is not having that COVID year. Means that you never saw what the first year of a rebuild in Toronto would look like, because you kind of hit the ground running the second year and started winning games, and everybody forgot about the 4-14 seasons that came before it. If the first year in Toronto had been a 6-12 or 5-13, you remember very well, most of Regina thought that Chris Jones, myself, Jeremy, and all of us had completely forgotten how to spell football, let alone work in football. When we lose the last game at Mosaic and then blow a 19-point lead against Winnipeg, game 1 in the new stadium, they were ready to, send us to, Saskatoon or other on a permanent basis. So you really are looking at the factor that, to me, any of these rebuilds are a 12-month process, but nobody wants to hear that, especially when they've come off of 2 seasons where they're not winning games. And amazingly, when Ottawa is winning games, it's often on the road. So you're not even giving your home fan base something to look at. And to lose, I think now it's 11 or 12 in a row, it's a hard sell for them to understand why certain decisions were made. I still agree with the decision to make the trade. You can argue about that, and it will become an argument point. If Drew Brown goes out and has a good performance this evening for Winnipeg, it will even make that more of a lightning rod. But if your idea of what you're going to do fits a certain type quarterback and a certain type profile, you got to stick to it, because that's what got you there in the first place.
Arlen Bruce checks in, 2-time Grey Cup champion, NFL alum too. He says, great day, RP. Argonauts by 8 tonight. Stampeders by 4. Saturday's game in Montreal should be over 50 points. I'm not betting. I'm just giving my opinion. That's from AB. Well, you did make a really good point, I thought, yesterday about when I said, why would you not put Drew Brown in and back up last week? And you said, you never know what goes on behind the scenes. And we don't really know what went on behind the scenes in Ottawa with the trade of Drew Brown there, other than he was pissed off that he was not named QB1 and he wanted out. That's what it looks like. Is there more to the story, do you think? Or is that what it was?
No, because I mean, I think a lot of the times when things like that happen, that is not, a lot of the times that is the normal response, and not one that's unexpected when you go in to have those conversations, with guys. When we told Nick and McLeod that, best player is going to play week 1, I'm sure that when they both went home, they were like, oh man, these guys suck. What do you mean? Why am I not the guy in that scenario, right? It's never something you want to hear, right? Chad, the first time Chad threw, and came into the game, right? He expected to, take the ball and immediately, run with it. And they knew that McLeod knew the offense better. They had a veteran team in Toronto that year, and they weren't willing to sacrifice the ebbs and flows of Chad learning the CFL game. So they ran with McLeod all the way until that, unfortunate injury in the Grey Cup. And then Chad's ability, helped them win a Grey Cup, that year. But then you had to make a decision, right? Like there was your, point of reckoning to say, hey, next year when we come back, we got to let that guy have his chance. And the quicker example for the home fans that are listening is, hey, when you play that Eastern final and you use both, Kevin Glenn and Brandon Bridge, and you see Bridge make a couple of plays in that playoff game against the pass rush of the Argos, that offseason you had to decide, I have to give Brandon Bridge enough reps in training camp to see if he can win the job, because I know Kevin Glenn can do it, right? So you can't go into that, in a philosophical manner and say, we're going to split the reps 50-50 between Jake Meyer and Drew Brown and hope for what happens early, because in all likelihood, you would have gotten a lot of these same results if you had done that.
We only have 3.5 minutes left. Jeff, the Stamps fan, says Arlen Bruce is starting to look right about his Vernon Adams being most outstanding player prediction. Threw for 6 touchdowns last week, ran for a 7th. We only have 3.5 minutes, but we had him in Sask. He's good, but he wasn't great, or he'd have stayed. He's a different guy right now.
Yes and no, because the combination of things were Vernon needed somebody to do what has happened in the places he's now had success, which is they didn't make the offense be the offense. They manufactured the offense around Vernon so that he would be successful. Our scheme, that other scheme that you're talking about, needs the operator to do things the way the offense is called. And Vernon is a off-platform magician, right, with the football that can do all those things. But when you have somebody that then does that in that style of offense that comes off of that old Trestman tree, Mark Trestman would have had some interesting times, right? Not comparing them as total players, but James Franklin was not a perfect fit for the Trestman offense for a lot of those same reasons. And I think Vernon, early in his career, he needed to trust you in order to trust himself. If not, he would go out and play a lot more playground football than he's playing now, because his trust level in himself and others that he has nothing to prove. You didn't ask somebody to trade first-round picks for you coming straight out of college in the neg list. Vernon has settled down, and now we're seeing the best version of himself, because it's also the best version of himself on and off the field.
I guess while we're at it, in the time we have, it's only like 90 seconds, but Arlen Bruce says, Kevin Glenn is definitely a first ballot Hall of Famer. Do you agree, Vela? To our U.S. audience, he's the guy that played for all 10 CFL teams, the only guy to ever do that, but he's not in the Hall of Fame. He should be. But is he a Hall of Famer in your mind? Never won a championship, Murph.
I think when you look at that era of time and the numbers he put up and consistently getting those teams that he was with, I was blessed to have him in Calgary and in Saskatchewan, and exactly what you saw in both of those places, getting you to the finish line, it's everybody's responsibility to get you over the line to win, when it comes to Grey Cups or championships. Kevin Glenn's not the reason teams didn't win. He had them there in Winnipeg. He had them there in Hamilton. He had them there in Ottawa. He had them there in Sask and Calgary. For somebody to win that often and put up those kind of numbers and be the kind of teammate and leader that he was, I'm for sure saying yes. And the other thing I will tell you is I will not count out Kevin Glenn one day being either an OC or even head coach candidate in the CFL. He's doing a great job down there in Detroit, coaching high school football and raising a family. But if you know him and you know he's a good business person, great communicator, and I think somebody that would soar if he ever got a chance to come up in the CFL.
Mr. 313. We had him 3 times in Sask. He owned Tim Hortons outlets in Detroit. I'm not sure if he still does or not. Illinois State guy. We had him 3 times. I just absolutely love that guy. You talk about him. Should he be in the Hall of Fame or not? What I will tell you is he is a Hall of Fame human being, man. You're right. Like he's all that. He's a chosen one. All right, Murph, have a great weekend. Enjoy the ball. I appreciate you.
You got it.
John Murphy checking in from Houston, Texas. Just one sec. Murph will be adjourning in a second. We'll be coming right back with a sports update with everything else that is going on right now in the world of sports. More on those NFL topics. What's the biggest stories of the year? 902-518-3033 is the text line. It's brought to you by Western Dodge, and we'll be right back. You're enjoying a Football Friday on Silver State Sports, Game Plus, and WQVZ Radio.
Ready for a night of rock with the Gene Simmons Band.
You know your man is working hard. He's worth a team.
Saturday, December 5th, Temple Garden Center.
Now.
The Gene Simmons Band performing your favorite classic hits. Tickets on sale now at sasktix.ca. Don't miss the Gene Simmons Band.
Get ready to make unforgettable memories with your little ones at Elmo's Got the Moves, the all-new Sesame Street live show coming to your neighborhood. Friday, December 4th, Temple Garden Center. Tickets on sale now at SaskTix.
You have a vision, a big idea, but how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events. That's the EMJ difference. We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Football Friday continues, and yeah, we limit it to Fridays with football. I mean, when it's not football season in other places. We've been talking a lot of CFL. It's like the only league playing right now, other than the major indoor football league of which the Vegas Nighthawks play. And Wayne in BC writes in, he says, I love me some John Murphy and his takes on the CFL. Keep bringing him back for Football Fridays. Right? I will, but here's the thing. I talked to Mike Davis yesterday, the head coach and general manager of the Vegas Nighthawks. He's become one of my closest friends over the years. They're running a kids camp today in Vegas. So I'm like, hey, Murph, you want to come back on? He's like, yeah. He's great. Had Moose in hour one. This is the one thing about the other shows. This is like, I kind of know what I'm doing. I'd like to think 1,770 episodes of this particular show and a lot of other shows. It's like I watch the other U.S. shows. I'm not going to name the networks, but it's the same guys every single day arguing about the same things, and I don't like it. I like to keep it fresh. So that's why I rotate these guys around. And I actually was having a great talk the other day with somebody. Well, I was out for supper at the Mad Greek one night, and my friend Mike goes, how often you got guys trying to get on the show? And I said, every single day. Every single day somebody's writing me to get on the show. But it's always football people. 100. I never have a hockey person say, you need to get me on the show. Never. That's just the difference between the two sports, I swear to God. Now, Monday, just so you know, I'm wearing this shirt. Everybody thinks I'm wearing it. And Moose thought I was wearing it, our Hour One co-host, in paying homage to him. No, my baseball team, the Moose Jaw Miller Express, we are number one in the entire league, Western Canadian Baseball League, and our pitching coach is coming on Monday. So get ready for that. Jeffrey Freeborn. I don't know if he's still scouting for the Cincinnati Reds or not, but he's pitched professionally in 6 countries. He is a movie. I'm just teeing up Monday. Get ready for that. He is a movie. I was saying earlier, I dedicated my life to this perilous trade. When it's all said and done and they're throwing dirt on me, we'll decide whether that was a good idea or not. But there's guys like Jeff Freeborn who's dedicated his whole life to baseball. And he's going to be great on Monday. Looking forward to that. And the football guys do the same thing. We had a coach with the Rough Riders one time. I don't know if I was listening. I was hearing, but was I listening? We talked about his multiple marriages. He goes, I can always find another wife. There's only one football. That's how they think. That's how some of us think. I'll stop and move on. Sports update. Speaking of baseball, Phillies first baseman Bryce Harper and Cardinals right fielder Jordan Walker have joined the field for Monday's Home Run Derby, which has just 2 spots left. Harper has a chance to win the Derby at his home park for the second time, first doing so with the Nationals back in 2018. That's a clown question, bro. I'm geeked. Like, it's worked out great. That was the first day that Freeborn could join us because the Millers have a day off. They're coming off a long road trip where they're having their way with everybody. And then that'll be the day of the Home Run Derby, and then the Midsummer Classic is Tuesday night. We'll tee it all up with Jeff Freeborn and tell his very colorful story. He is Scott Bakula in Major League 2. That's kind of what he is. Just prepping you for that. From the NHL, the Ducks matched Leo Carlsson's 5-year, $90 million offer sheet from the Flyers, making the 21-year-old center the highest-paid player in NHL history at $18 million per season. For reference, that figure would rank as the 190th highest in NBA history. They only have 12 players, blah, blah, blah. UCLA, how about this? Serbian phenom Nikola Kusturica has agreed to a multi-year NIL deal worth upwards of $12 million per year to play at UCLA beginning this fall. The 17-year-old, still 2 years away from being eligible for the NBA, is considered an early contender to go number 1 in the 2028 draft. I'm laughing because it's like everybody wonders in this world, where's the money going? Where's it going? All the media outlets are going off the air. Where's the money going? It's going to the leagues, and it's going to the players, as I just read to you. And if the players are getting that much, much do you think the owners are getting? We'll continue this when we come back with the final overtime segment of the week, and I feel like it's going to be big fun. We'll talk about the weekend, put a wrap on today's show. It is the RP Show. You're watching on Silver State Sports, Game Plus, podcast, and, of course, across the U.S. South on WQVZ.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world! Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world! Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
You have a vision, a big idea, but how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events, that's the EMJ difference.
We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too.
Al-Anon
and Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
Looking for a new ride without the big city pressure? Come to Western Dodge in Moose Jaw, where you'll find an unbeatable lineup of Ram trucks, Jeep SUVs, Dodge Muscle, and Chrysler family rides. With knowledgeable staff, great prices, and that friendly Moose Jaw touch, you'll drive away with confidence. Western Dodge. Big selection, small town service. Visit us today or browse online at westerndodge.ca. Okay, we're back to put a lid on a great show and what's been a great week, and some big guests. Big thanks to Mark Trestman for coming on. That was pretty awesome. He wanted to come on to promote his new book, which I can't wait to read. What I love about this show, 1,774 episodes ago, it just started with Rod and his buddies, and in season 8, it's still Rod and his buddies. And me and DeBuck are going to jump in the car and drive to Naples to see Mark, and we're not going to golf. We got a lot of fun things to do when I get back to Florida in the fall, but a lot of fun things to do up here. And by the way, that includes going to Calgary and Overtime Hockey Lanes, kind of thinking it'll be for Darren Fleury's golf tournament. We'll just make it a yearly thing, but as I go one day at a time, as you know, I'm not looking too far ahead. BW from, but Overtime Hockey Lanes, you're gonna wait till August 20th for you to go. Go check it out this weekend. What the hell you're missing? Everybody says they're missing hockey. Well, you can go play for $20 an hour, shoot pucks in all the variety of lanes until your heart's content. Baseball's got batting cages. Golf has driving ranges. Why would hockey not shooting lanes? Well, in Calgary, they do. That's a hockey town now. Overtime Hockey Lanes, 28th Street Northeast, Calgary. BW writes in from Edmonton, and he says, I will be praying for you, Rod, this weekend. Be safe in Craven. Listen, you don't need to pray for me now. I'll take the prayers, and I thank you for that, but I'll be fine. I mean, back in the day, yeah, it got a little wild. I was thinking about this. Like, I'm going out there. I'll be dressed like Moose, wearing white shoes, black dress shirt. We'll see. Not planning to get dirty and coming back home. I mean, that's the plan. So thank you for the people planning. God laughs. I understand that. I think he's going to keep me safe. But back in the day, I was an absolute savage. I was out there for at least 5 days. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. But we weren't hurting anybody. We weren't hurting anybody at all. But that's the country crowd, just so you know, because I'm a country boy. That's never changed. Saturday Night Creed is there, and I'll be honest, I can't tell you one song that they sing. I can't. You put a gun to my head, I couldn't tell you one song Creed sings. And they say the rock crowd draws the rock acts draw a different crowd. I don't know. I won't be there. The country crowd, that's my crowd. 11-year halftime break, and now I'm going back. So, yeah. But, yeah, with our new influencer ad agency that we've teamed up with, the RP Show and Rod Pedersen official, my Instagram account, tune that in, and just fun and frivolity. And I'll be respectful. My God, there was a lot of times at Craven I wouldn't want to have a camera in my face, so it won't be too insane. John writes in, he says, great show, Rod. Have a fantastic weekend. Take lots of pics of Craven. Are you following me on Instagram? I think you are, John. At Rod Pedersen Official. Vancouver Eric writes in, he says, wishing for a healthy and safe weekend for all CFL quarterbacks. You're totally right, Vancouver Eric. You're not wrong. Like, when it's not the big-name quarterbacks starting in any league, CFL, NFL, it takes a little bit of the luster off the games. I mean, because I'm a sportsman and I've been in it my whole life, I understand that the stars started somewhere, but that doesn't market well or translate to ratings. And I'll be thinking a little bit, I mean, sign up for the Rod Pedersen Show newsletter, which drops every Sunday morning. That was a fun talk with Murph and Moose, because we are getting close to the NFL season. Training camps opening up here right away. What are the top stories going into the season? Everybody's got a different one. I remember, was it last year or 2 years ago? We voted on it. What was the top story? We said it was the Chiefs three-peat. Well, that didn't happen. They missed the playoffs. To be honest, one thing that I wrote down was, what's the Super Bowl matchup going to be in the absence of a lot of glaring stories? We don't have a three-peat to worry about. But in retrospect, the New England-Seattle Super Bowl was not a good game at all. That was not a sexy matchup. But two of the top 5 teams in the power rank in the betting odds are the Rams and the Seahawks, and they play in the same division. That's going to be an absolute war. And nobody talks about the NFC West as being the best division in the NFL. So, anyways, I'll be putting that in the weekend newsletter, plus my final thoughts on those 2 all-sports radio stations in Canada, specifically Vancouver and Calgary, going off the air. Winnipeg lost theirs years ago. Somehow the city survived. Mike in Winnipeg, no way family names should be on the cup. Thank you, Mike, for the late write-in vote on our daily poll question. The owner of the Carolina Hurricanes putting his family's names on the cup. It's the golden rule, baby. He who owns the gold makes the rules. Ken in Mississauga writes in, he says, really nice photos from the ranch, Rod. Not on Facebook, but I was able to view. Tell me, Ken, because we got 2 minutes. How were you able to see that if you're not on Facebook? Oh, it was on my Instagram. You follow me on Instagram. That's at Rod Pedersen Official. We went out to the stables, the ranch. I found out the other night at the ballgame that some guys did get on horses after I left. I had to come in and meet some folks at the Mad Greek, but we had that team bonding session, and just so you know, the team hasn't lost since. And I know David, number 2 in Winnipeg, said, it's so impressive to see how attached you are to the players. As soon as you said that, I'm like, attachment's not a good thing. But in this case, maybe it is. We had the team bonding, and I got the text just a couple hours before. They're like, oh, Rod, Coach Gonzalez wants you there. That's the kind of thing that warms your heart. So our whole thing, the shooting pool, guys singing karaoke, parents were there, barbecued, the Billets barbecue. Oh, my God, it was so good. That's why I do this. The players. And it begins and ends with that. So, yeah, I did not plan on coming in here and getting attached. No, I'm just going to call the game. Screw them. Didn't happen. And as I say, we haven't lost since. Kind of thinking we're going to be going back to the league final. We'll see with a first-year coach and the youngest team in the league. It's been quite a story. So thank you, Ken, for following. And we'll see what Country Thunder's got up for us. Those just very, very, very close friends of mine, a wonderful Saskatchewan brand, Western Canadian brand, just like this show. Those are my friends. They're like, we can't wait to see you. Haven't seen you in 11 years. Thanks for the prayers. I won't say that I won't need them, but who knows? And try and sneak some football in there, too. Be safe, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks to the guests. Thanks, producer Corey. We'll see you on Monday here on the RP Show.
Dad.